Y'all, this is Dan Rome, the Dan Rome, high drama moment. And we thought we might share our planning session with you in the event that some of you want to see behind the scenes of how visual thinking facilitators create experiences.
This is how they get made.
Okay.
You have to have a whiteboard with you.
Yeah, you do.
And then you are comfortable with whiteboard, and mural is kind of an emulator of some of this, right? With digital,
a good metaphor for it, yeah.
Digital amplifications. So what I'm going to suggest, because this is easily muralified, is I have a toolkit, which normally in an analog world is a piece of folded paper, that Sunny, you know, is called the visual decoder.
Yes.
And what the visual decoder does is it allows you to draw a series of pictures in a very thoughtful sequence that enable someone to really get super clear in 12 minutes or less about whatever their idea is or the story they want to tell by drawing it in a programmatic way, which is a lot of words. But essentially what it does is you fold a sheet of paper, and on the front, you write your title, which later on we will realize the title should contain an element of why, but we'll get to that later. We don't worry about it at the beginning. You have a title, then you're going to draw, then on the inside, is this making sense?
Yeah.
On the inside of this folded sheet of paper, you've kind of creased it so that you got 4 perfectly equal quadrants. And in one of them, you draw who and what. So kind of the nouns of your idea. Exactly. There's the fancy version of it.
Yeah, but
one of them you draw where, so you draw a map. What's the location of the pieces of your idea? One of them is you draw how many, where you get to quantify some element of your idea. And then you draw when, where you draw the sequence. And then you on the last one, you really say, this is really the why, which you're doing at the end, which we can talk about. This is what do you want someone to remember? Good. Kind of the lesson learned.
Okay.
From your story. So what I was going to suggest was all we need is a topic.
Okay.
And that, to me, in my fantasy world, you asked me, would be part of the joy would be coming up with what is the topic? What are we going to have everybody draw? And it could be a concept, but typically it's more fun if it be a story.
Story, yeah.
It could be a concept, it could be a story, it could be a pitch.
But it's cool that you can do it for all those things.
Exactly. Any idea. Son, Sunny, you know my shtick is that we got these eyes, and these eyes see the world, and they, without any words required, they navigate us through because they're doing very specific things. So all this visual decoder does is it enables us to draw pictures in the same sequence that our eyes naturally want to see them. So you can answer and clarify anything.
Oh, beautiful. You link it back to the brain.
Back to the brain.
Yep. The brain has the who, what, the 5 whys in it.
It sure does. So do you want me to pontificate and lectureize for a moment?
It actually helps me, yeah.
Okay, so here's what we know, or some things we know. This is you, and you're looking at stuff. And all that stuff is, I mean, stuff is out there in the world, but what happens with vision, and you've got an eyeball here, and you've got a brain behind it. And so what happens?
Ideally, but yeah.
You do. So light from the sun hits things and reflects off into our eyes in the form of photons. And then those photons, billions of them, get turned into something in our mind, which might often look like a dog, if that's what we're looking at, and maybe a sun. So how does the brain do that? And you nailed it. We have different pathways. Once the information comes in through the eye, it goes to different parts of the brain. And one of the models that I happen to like a lot, I didn't make it up. It's from a guy named V.S. Ramachandran.
Oh, I know. I have his book.
You know him.
Yeah.
From UC San Diego. And his team and a whole bunch of other people, there are different pathways. And one of those pathways is called the what pathway?
Is it the Telltale Brain? Is that his book?
The phantoms in the brain.
Oh, yes. And doesn't he do the mirror trick where you like think a hand is yours, but it's not? Okay.
Exactly. You got it.
Cool.
So what, where, how, are pathways in the visual system that are identified and understood. And I've just taken this and kind of extrapolated it out. So what this means is that when we're looking at the world, one part of our brain is busy trying to identify what the heck am I looking at? And it doesn't even give it a name. That comes later. I mean, we see a particular shape that has fur, reflects light in a certain way, appears to be a certain size. We know what it is. We associate it to our verbal mind. We say, oh, that's a dog. But we knew what the thing was long before we knew what it was a dog, because we have a what pathway. The where pathway says, what is the distance from me to that thing? And what is that thing's position relative to everything else that I see? And it doesn't, and that's a different pathway. And then the how pathway kind of stitches it all together and watches for movement, and then makes up a kind of a story of what we think happened based on what we've seen. You got it. Sense making. Perfect. So putting that all together becomes sense making. Beautiful. Okay. So all I've done is say, if this seems to be true, which it appears to be true as a macro model of human vision, it would stand to reason, Sunny, I said, that if that's the way our brain, our visual mind takes in information to make sense of it, if I want to share an idea with you, why wouldn't I just draw the same pictures in the same order?
Yeah, interesting. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So how come there's not a why and what, and there's not a who? Is that not relevant for the visual?
Sure. So it's a really, really good question. And here's where Dan Rome came in and started to make shit up. And then this is like 12 years ago, and then been testing it, and it holds, at least as a heuristic, as a model that functions, whether it can be totally justified neurobiologically or not. It kind of doesn't matter, because it works in terms of telling a story in a way. The who I include within the what, because what this really is are like objects.
Yeah, right.
So I clump who's and what's together. I mean, that's a Sunny, that's a cat, that's a car, that's a plane, that's a dushka, that's a whatever.
Oh, that's a dushka zapata.
There you got it. So they're all, so I put the who's and the what's here.
Makes sense.
When is actually another pathway that I didn't identify here. It's a known one, because what it does is it's the one that stitches these things together. How pathway we've already got. And arguably why is the lesson that we've learned, the sense that we've made out of all of it. Our vision engine, by burning, hundreds of calories, thousands of cycles to do this, we've got to believe that the outcome would be, well, don't step off the cliff.
Right.
Why? Because that will kill me, or that doesn't feel good, or that doesn't make sense. So that's why actually comes at the end.
Yeah, that makes complete sense, Dan. From an evolutionary biology standpoint too, it's like, you really only need to know, like, is there a thing running toward me, and at what rate and in what direction, and how do I know, like, what it's called is less relevant, and why it's there is even more on the periphery of survival.
Exactly.
Mostly you just need to react. So when you say Dan's making shit up, I think Dan's just a genius, and he just figured some shit out.
He thought about it a lot.
Yeah.
That Dan. And so we're all familiar with Simon Sinek and Start With Why and that kind of thing. And Simon and I have had several conversations about this notion of, if you're going to try to sell me an idea, it might behoove you to focus more on why it's important and why it's important to me than what it is and the features. And it's a great, it's great. The question becomes, until you know what the heck you're talking about,
you can't even get to why.
You can't get to why. So the why in this model is actually the outcome, which is why when you tell the story, you discover your why through the act of drawing it. Beautiful. And then that might feed your title.
Reinform. Got it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So I might create a visual decoder. Let's say, well, let's just take a story.
Okay.
I don't know. You mentioned last time we talked Winnie the Pooh.
I did.
Okay, so let's take Winnie. Let's take good old Pooh Bear. Pooh Bear hasn't been canceled, right? We're legit to talk about Winnie the Pooh.
I think so.
I hope.
I don't know if Eeyore is problematic in some way, but I think everyone's safe in those.
Christopher Robin has got issues. There's no doubt.
Yeah, and his dad with the dad. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Remember that, like the dad. But yeah. that's the real world.
All right, but you know what? Screw it. We're moving ahead.
Pooh. The story.
So do you, Sunny? Remind me one of the Pooh stories, because they came in chapters, short stories. Remind me of one of them. Does any one of them come to your mind?
I mean, something about stealing honey, and I guess that's a regular occurrence with the honey.
I'm thinking off. May I answer the question I already asked you? Because here, let me mansplain to you how Winnie the Pooh works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was hoping if I sent out really strong thought vibes, you'd pick up. Pooh Bear goes into Rabbit's house, eats all the honey, and can't get out.
Okay.
Because Pooh Bear's butt gets too big, and he tries to go through the window, and he can't get out.
Okay.
You remember this? And Rabbit tries to push him, and Piglet and Owl and Eeyore all try to pull him, and they can't get him out. Okay. And so the lesson might be, well, there are probably many there.
Yeah.
Don't go into Rabbit's house and then eat all his food unless you have an exit plan. Why? Well, there's a lot there.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
There's a lot there. So what we would do in our case is we'd say, let's tell the story of Pooh and the honey. And we'd say, who is it about? And we'd name it Pooh and the honey. And we don't need to know much at that point, because that's where the visual decoder comes in. Who? Well, we got Winnie the Pooh. And we got Rabbit.
Okay.
And we got Piglet, and we got Eeyore, and we've got a big barrel of honey. And that's all. And that would be it. That's all we would do for that first step.
Very cool.
And there is some research that would indicate that for the purposes of a Game Stormy type exercise, where you're asking people to fill in this with pictures, you give them exactly 2 minutes to do it. No more, no less.
Okay.
2 minutes appears to be enough time to get into it, understand what you've been asked to do, start to think, start to sketch some self out. The clock is ticking, and you don't have time to edit yourself.
Now, do you prime them with visual language at all prior to them going?
Yeah, you give them an example. You say, we're going to do a visual decoder, and I'll show you one.
Okay.
That's pre-filled out.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does. And I was just thinking, as an educator, like if you're needing to set them up for success, because people freak out about being asked to draw. So I'm just saying, what I love about the 12-minute move is that you're basically saying, stop with the overthinking and just get a marker in your hand and do the thing.
You got it.
Yeah, I love it.
So this visual decoder exercise, VD for short, lasts 12 minutes plus a little bit of mush time for explanation. So altogether, for the time we have when we go live, if we can allocate 15 minutes, and we want to go a little bit more because there's a little bit of slop, but in the real world, if you can kick people along, and we will have a clock running on the screen.
Yeah.
15 minutes is as long as it takes to fill this thing in. Then, so here's an idea, Sunny. What would happen? How long do we want to take? An hour?
So we have an hour total. Yeah. And typically for, we can talk about Q&R and like opening and stuff, but all told, you probably have 30, 40 good minutes of like solid methodological work.
Well, in the interest of kind of do I have permission to solutionize like right off?
Yeah, I think it's helpful.
Because I've done this before. So here's what's
you have? No. I thought we were doing it.
How about 15 minutes of intro stuff?
Okay.
Which would include a quick sketch just to get people warmed up.
Okay.
Have
you sketched a mural?
I think I have.
Okay, give it a
shot. You have whiteboard.
Before.
Yeah, we'll do it. So sketch, 15 minute of sketch and intro to the visual decoder, then 15 minutes of doing the visual decoder, fill it in.
Very cool.
And typically you do that individually. You don't do that as a team.
That's great.
Everybody does it on their own.
We can make game spaces for each person, no problem.
Okay. Then 15 minutes of playback with some number of people taking 2 to 3 minutes each and sharing what they've done, if it's individual, or team if it's team.
Okay.
And then 15 minutes of debrief and
Yeah.
Q&A, debrief, lessons, etc.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
So that it's aggressive, but it is very workable, and it is time tested and proven.
Yeah, I trust you completely. And also it's higher energy when it has a,
Oh, there is not a down moment.
Yeah, I know, Dan. That's why I'm so excited to have you. I'm like, you're good.
Hey, do we have the ability to play music while we go?
Yes, and that's what I was going to say. And also, let me just riff on this a couple things. I have my most obvious question is like, is it more intriguing, interesting? Like you're saying in the 15-minute intro, are we unpacking a universally known story?
Yes.
And you're going to support us in doing that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so one of the things we need to do is pick that story and make it as universal as possible. God.
Well, how are we feeling about J.K. Rowling these days? Talk about people being canceled and upsetting folks. Are we okay with J.K. or not?
Yeah, I love J.K. I mean,
I totally do. I understand that she's inserted her foot into her mouth several times in the last year and a half, which I find really sad.
I know. I remember reading a lot about it, but I didn't take it in as a eternal damnation. I just thought, okay, well,
it depends. There are groups who have a valid point that she's saying some really stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I think she's the greatest living storyteller on the planet, and I love Harry Potter.
Me too.
And I actually I don't know her, but everything I've ever read about J.K., I just admire her beyond anybody.
Well, and can I say a strange cultural moment here? So like the French, they have no relationship between the art and the artist's morality. Like they just don't give two shits about, they really revere the art and the construct of that thing. And they make fun of Americans because we do associate the ethical, or non-ethical composure with an artist. And we actually look through that lens at their work. And so it's interesting because on some level, the question is fundamentally American culturalized.
Yeah. Well, we do that with politicians, and the French do not.
Right.
We do that with historical figures.
Correct.
Yeah. So
they make fun of us for it. They're like, y'all are so overly moralizing. So long story short, I think if we can name that she's, controversial, and we're talking about modern classics. So let's just talk about the modern classic, and my other question to you is, and we have time to think about that. My other question is, in Mural, you can use visuals, right? So we could actually use the option of pulling images over. And if people don't want to draw, they can find images and put them in the who and what, and it would look kind of cool.
Sure could. As long as that's realistically done within our 2-minute rule.
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, I think the drawing for some people would take longer because it's the drawing tool in Mural is not like its focused feature. So it's pretty rudimentary. So I think for some people who are facile with the image option, then that's fine. And other people would draw it. And
is it a mouse? I think I've drawn it. You use your mouse to draw?
Well, I use my this, right? But most people do. And if they have a mouse, let's just encourage them to drag images, for that particular piece.
Okay.
I can demo that to you at some point.
Okay. That's cool. Let's hold that thought for a minute and come back to it because that's good.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Yep. So I've got a visual decoder of Harry Potter, the first book, The Sorcerer's Stone, already done, which I love and am happy to share. And as long as we call out, some people might be upset, but we're going anyway.
Yeah, we'll just name that we're not oblivious to that. Just name it.
But it's still a great story no matter what.
Yeah, so can't take that
and
away.
She's a great writer no matter what. So we can do that. And the Harry Potter one, to tell the story, takes about 3 minutes. So that would be in the 15 minutes.
Okay.
And the way that I would show it is not by drawing it live.
Yeah, you'd have your thing.
I mean, it would take 15 minutes to draw it live, but it will already be done. And that's what I mean. It's hand drawn. We can upload it to Mural and create. So let's do a to-do. So
that's great. Thank you, Dan. And also we can do a reveal. So you can have your established diagram in there and I can cover things and then do a reveal as you're talking it through. So there's
So
some.
let's create a visual decoder in Mural.
Yes.
Let's create a visual decoder template,
Okay.
which
Yes.
is easy. It's just these 6 pages with a label on them.
Outstanding.
Then we'll create a Harry Potter filled in version.
Mm-hmm.
Then we need to create whatever template we're going to ask people to use. And this is where, Sunny, I'm going to stop talking because I don't know how the next part works.
Okay.
The visual decoder is intended to be an individual exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're all looking at a mural, how does that work?
So it would, and I'll show you examples, but we would ultimately have what I call game spaces. So if we say we invite 20 players and each player has their own game space, then essentially they all go into the same canvas. So we're all in the same big white space. And then I say, find your game space. And then they just put their name on it or put a picture of themselves or whatever. So they kind of own that space. And then they all work inside of that space simultaneously. And we play music, or you can.
And can we see them all, or do we scan from one to the next, or?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when you're the facilitator, you can summon people's attention to different spaces on the canvas, and you can zoom in and out. So since we have a production team, we can tell them, hey, at a certain point, we want you to zoom in on a few people. And then so the viewport of the audience can have, one person working, and then it can scan over to another person, and then it can pull out and show everyone working at the same time. So we can do all of that.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that cool?
That's really cool.
I
Okay.
know. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So let's note that. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you and I can figure out an easy way to create. I know Mural reasonably well,
Yeah,
and I can.
well.
I've done a fair amount of work in Mural. So Dan will do this. I'll create the visual decoder template and share it with you so you can make sure that it's solid.
And works, yeah.
Dan will create the Harry Potter filled in version as a sample to show people.
Love it.
And maybe we can set it up in such a way that it's not fully created, but that on the fly, as I'm telling the story, maybe I'm pulling some things in that are pre-created, even just like sitting there on the canvas and just drag them in.
Love it.
Then you're going to do the game. So this is a Sunny thing, is you're going to make these game spaces.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Each game space is going to need to have a visual decoder blank in it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So then for 15 minutes, which would be fun, we'd have music playing and we're watching people build their own. And I want to be clear, the 15 minutes isn't like a 15-minute timer. It's 6 consecutive 2-minute timings, meaning you've got 2 minutes to work on this one, go. Then we take a breather.
Okay.
Anybody want to debrief? What did you draw? What did you not? Okay, now.
And that's where the slop comes in and makes it 15-minute expansion.
Right. So then we take a break. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. Forget what you just drew because you're going to go into a different part of your mind now. I need you to draw me a blank. 2 minutes. We do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then they've drawn the 4 pictures. And at this point, the story's pretty tight. The story begins to be to become pretty coherent right by the time you get to the 3rd one, because you've identified your characters, you've identified the landscape where they're taking place, you've given them some numbers and metrics like how far are they moving, how many of them are there, how much money are they going to earn, how much honey did Pooh eat.
So do you have to pick a section of the story? Because like a Harry Potter is pretty elaborate. So you have to look either at the high level view or like
super high level,
a specific event or something.
You could do either. And that's going to bring us to the big question you and I have, which is which story are we going to ask people to tell or to visualize?
And also, Dan, couldn't it be an individual story? So like, since they can do concept story or pitch, why do they have to all be working on the same one? Why can't they work on something that they want to
Which story? Which stories?
Yeah.
This is, I think, Sunny, that's all that's left for us to decide.
I love that, because I think it actually adds real value to a person who, for example, is saying like, I need to make a case to my board about the value of one of our KRs, OKRs. And so
Yep.
they can work on that, and then they can debrief and share that if they want to, and that will give a lot of people ideas. So I think you're you're using the universal story to set them up for success, but then they can actually make it personal.
The universal story. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
This is the universal story template.
Yeah. Yeah.
Funny. Someone should write a book about that.
I know. I wonder if anyone will.
Huh? What do you know?
It'd probably be easier, faster.
Oh, I realize you can't see that. Here, let me push this back just a little bit. Anyway, the whiteboard's too big. Okay. So all we need to think about now there's the logistics of the game spaces. I don't know, in the case of Mural, can we have a timer running?
Yes. And
on screen?
Yes. And it makes a sound so everybody knows that it's done.
Excellent. So you have a timer. We're going to have music. Cool. How many players do we want to have?
We can have up to 50, but I think 20 is sufficient for the game spaces.
Okay, 20 players. I will leave it up to you to figure out who they're going to be.
20 lucky players.
So as people, I don't even need to know this, but as they sign up, they'll be randomly selected to become a lucky player.
No, they actually choose to be a player in the canvas. So, I mean, and they call them panelists in the Zoom. But the last thing, because we just did a broadcast today, and the last broadcast we had 16 players, and they actually knew in advance that they would be players. So we'll recruit some people, and they'll have a special, link, and then other people can actually be converted into a player in the moment. So we can do both.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's think now about, do we want everybody to be illustrating one story? Do we want everybody to be illustrating a set of the same stories? Because that can be fun too. Like we want to see, you try to explain to me Inception, go, or whatever.
Well, that's interesting, because in terms of making it, so for some people, just the metacognitive experience of unpacking a story according to the decoder is going to be like sufficiently mind-blowing. And for other people, they will have some sense of story. And so they actually might want to work on something that they're grappling with, and it will help them. And so so my question to you is, when we debrief, does it matter if they're working on different stories? I feel like it wouldn't.
Doesn't matter at all.
Right. And then do you, in the 15-minute Q&A, they can ask about anything. So yeah, I feel like I'm feeling, Dan, that they would have to have some thinking time around what story they want to unpack. So there's a moment where you're like, when we invite the players in advance, we could tell them, come with a story that you want to make sense of. I mean, it could be your own life story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or it could be your future life story, like a life you want to design. And so there's value in that too. So I just think the diversity of experience would be really fun and interesting. And we would hear a lot of different angles around realistic, all the way from deeply imaginative to really grounded, pragmatic, realistic. And it will show that the decoder can attend to all of those things. I think there's value in that.
I'm thinking, game stormy wise. I also love the creative power of constraint, meaning we've only got an hour. They're going to learn a new tool. I think you're dead on right that the cognitive work for many of the people just to tell anything is going to be very cool. And in the only 7,000 times I've done this exercise in real time or in real life or remote, it really falls into one of three camps of what story. Let me be coherent. Sunny, I think as the dungeon masters, it is incumbent upon us to be very clear about the stories we're asking them to tell, because this is a test of a tool. If they're trying to come up with a complicated story at the same time they're testing the tool, it's too much. So my recommendation would be that we give them 3
options,
possible options. And
Okay.
one of them is show us Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, like so you know they're doing a new release of that, right? With all the original characters.
Are you yanking my chain here? What?
No, they are. Like that is real. That is happening.
No, you're Top Gun 2, right?
But it's the same people. And I think they're redoing. Yeah.
Sunny. Okay. I saw it last week. It's the biggest movie in like history.
Why didn't you tell me, man? Oh, man.
Well, see, because here's why. Because Top Gun, some people are going to love it. It's Tom Cruise's biggest opening movie ever. It opened up. It opened up 10 days ago.
Oh,
the movie released 10 days ago.
Wow.
Yeah, like you're over there in Asheville, clearly disconnected from reality.
Oh my God, my brother always says to me, I'll be like, "Hey, have you heard of like Nas?" And he's like, "It's 2022, Sunny." And I'll say stuff from the 80s, and I just discovered it. It's not good. I'm not proud of my non-pop culture knowledge. No, I am.
Well, to the degree that you may have disconnected, what I was thinking is, what is something that everybody is guaranteed to be aware of? And I thought Top Gun, because it's culturally not relevant, but it's culturally out there.
Salient. Yeah.
It is culturally salient. I think it's a little jingoistic rah-rah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Top Gun because I love airplane shit. I love it. I love it. Love it. So I'm going to see it 9 times.
Yes.
Is it a great movie? It's not. It doesn't matter. It's one of the world's great roller coaster rides. If you read it as that, then it's great.
Okay, so here, think about it like this. If we're giving them 3 options, there can be categories of options. So it's like the first one is like a major blockbuster movie, and we give them Black Panther, Top Gun, and like some feminist film, you know?
You know, the actor for Black Panther died, right?
Oh, Chadwick?
Yeah.
Boseman? Yeah.
Yeah.
That shit broke my
two
heart.
years ago.
Yes. Broke my heart.
Not culturally relevant.
You think you're updating me on something?
Well, let's just be thoughtful about how far in time we go. I mean, so I agree with you. Category 1 would be something like a blockbuster movie.
Blockbuster. Yes. Because I do.
Have you heard of Everything Everywhere All at Once?
You told me to watch it. And so
Okay, so a blockbuster movie is 1.
Yes.
So category A is share with us the story of a blockbuster movie.
Yes.
Category 2, that's category 1. Mm-hmm. Category 2 might be, and this gets back to, how about something from your work life? Yeah, like explain to us a recent, let's make everything abundant mindset set, okay? Mm-hmm. Illustrate for us a recent breakthrough success at your work.
Love it.
Okay, a recent work success.
I felt good just hearing you say that.
Everything is abundant mindset here. We don't talk bad stories.
Okay.
A recent work success, a recent success at work.
Mm-hmm. And here I have the third.
Yeah, go for it.
Your best life.
Your best life. Looking forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to look to you. I'm going to ask you to be even more specific in the wording of that, because you know how it is. How many times have you run a game, Storming, and you say, I want you all to visualize your best story. And they're like, well, in 5 years?
Yeah.
Or by the time I die? And can I include my dog?
Ooh, what if it was from the point of view of you're on your deathbed and you have lived your best life? What does it look like? Have you ever played that game?
No.
Oh, God.
I don't want to be on my deathbed. Nope, not these days.
God. Well, you know how people do coma games where they like get in a coffin? I mean, a coffin game, and they put people in a coffin.
Not now, baby. Nope. How about
you got the spirit of it though, right? Like it's
totally. I just, given the school shootings, given the war in Ukraine, given pandemic,
life on Earth, Dan.
Let's not
life on Earth.
Let's disassociate ourselves from harsh reality. We've got an hour of people's time. Let's be smiley.
Let's do got it word. I know I'm very I have a deep affection for death, but apparently that's not popular culture. So anyway, listen, it's imagine your best life in 5 years. That's doable.
5 years from now, you're living your best life. We want you to tell us the story of how you got there.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, so your best life, 5 years is too long. How about 2 years from now?
Okay.
2 years.
Yes. Yes.
And we want you to tell us the story of how you got there.
Love. So much love. That is so good. And see, that reminds me, 2 questions I have to ask you, and I'm going to say them out loud so I don't forget. Oh, how does the why go back? And the different ways they can actually create this visual medium in mural. And I'll think of that kind of stuff too, because the drawing tool is rudimentary. And so I don't want that to slow us down. So I will think in the background of how to best set people up.
Rudimentary, like more rudimentary than a whiteboard?
No, but it's just, if you're doing it on a mouse, that's not very facile. And there just might be like when you want to undo stuff and delete stuff, it's not really smooth. It's not elegant. So I'm just saying we should use the tools that they do have, because you can do sticky notes and tell where. I mean, that's not terrible. Like you can type Montana and you could grab a picture of Montana. I thought I said Montana because of you.
No, Montana's fine, but no, they have to draw it.
Well, then do you want to do a test thing? Because I'm just saying, like, I have they have to be, it's going to be stick figures like a mofo, because I'm telling you, drawing a mural, they did not focus on that feature. No. And they're going to I'm just being honest. Can they do what do you want to try it right now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's take a look.
Let me share my screen and show you.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't want you to be surprised. I have a question. Do you have a mural account?
I do. Should I log into it now?
Yeah, you can, just to play around with the tool.
Does it matter for what you and I are doing?
I think it will help you get a feeling. Do you have a digital? I'm sure you do.
Oh, I do. Yeah. Let me go into it right now.
Okay. You can see my screen, right?
I sure can.
Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to show you. I can't wait to see the files of the visual decoder. I'm going to create a mural. Okay. I'm just going to create a blank canvas. And I'm just going to show you. For me, it's nice because I have a drawing tablet, right? For other people, it might be frustrating. I'm not sure. Right. So, I mean, you can do pretty simple.
That's all we need, really.
Right. Like, here's my Twitter bird.
Yep.
Right. So it can be done, but I'm not using a mouse. And so I just wonder. So let me tell you the other option I was thinking. So when I say done drawing, the other thing people can do that I do think is actually useful is I can say, so I can do that, right? Like what happened? Why? Okay, let me try this one. Right. So, you can put those in the visual decoder, and
is this tied into like Google Images or something?
Yeah, it has a Creative Commons image search.
This is marvelous. This is perfect.
Isn't it great? That's what I was thinking. So those can be embedded into the different aspects of it. And you can also do GIFs and video. So I'm just saying we're not limited to just drawing, although I know we have a deep affection for it. But if anybody wants to do something else, this is still visual thinking. So it's
the trick is going to be, well, here, let's review them.
Yeah.
To do who's and what's, I love it. I think it's a fantastic idea to just pull in images. Yeah, Wonder Woman and a shark. I need a shark. We need whatever. Dragon and shark. Perfect. Okay. But now I need to draw a map. And I have to draw that. I can't, because what I want to know is in your story, where is the shark in relation to Wonder Woman and Frankenstein? Like, is it circling them? Are they on an island and the shark's in the water? Okay. So we have to annotate a little bit. You have to put things in position and even just clumsily mark them up.
Yeah. But you can still drag the images and draw, and you can do, like, for example, I can go, oh, shark chasing Wonder Woman.
Yep.
right?
So
It's
that's
still,
perfect.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking. So um I don't
We are going to want people who are pretty saturated in understanding mural.
most of the people that come to the show so far do have some faculty with mural.
Okay.
But literally, if they have image, sticky note, and a drawing tool, which are the most simple things, and I can actually customize the toolbar where that all they can do is those things, so they can't mess it up. They can just go double click. You have a sticky, click on the pencil, you can draw. And I mean, Dan, I'm just throwing this out there because I'm not sure how people will what they'll need. And so I want to outfit them. And literally I can take 60 seconds at the beginning and say, double click for a sticky note, draw for that, and image search for that. So what are your thinking?
Well, maybe in the beginning, we need to do a quick practice then. Have everybody just create. Our game players, maybe they need to create a simple image before we even start anything, just so they test everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
once you've dragged the image in, like the shark, can you resize it or is it locked in place?
you can do that.
And you can move it.
You can rotate it.
Can you duplicate it really easily?
Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, this is all we need. I will practice this a little bit too, so that I can give a quick demo of Harry Potter using this kind of thing.
Okay.
And I'll have that teed up.
Yeah, and actually your demo, we can go ahead and have images in it.
Yep.
And we can say like, this is what yours is going to look like. And it can be doodles, images, sticky notes, or just doodles, whatever. So we can prime the pump in that way. Does that
excellent?
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, because that's just, and I mean, at the end of the day, maybe people will just straight up draw everything, and that's also fine. But I want to give them the option.
So we're going with photos, really, or clip art. Well, how do we categorize things they pull in? What do we call that? Images. Okay. Yeah. Images, sketches, or do we call them drawings? What's the right word?
I call them sketches or doodles so that people don't feel like they have to
doodles. Let's do it because you're the doodle queen. Doodles.
Yeah, they don't have to know how to draw.
Images, doodles, and stickies.
That's right.
Now, okay, so that this quadrant is easy because they can pull in images. The map one, they're going to need their images, and then they're going to need to doodle lines, flow things.
Okay.
This one is where the chart goes in, and they're going to need to sketch out like some kind of measurable chart, a pie chart, a bar chart, a time series. Because okay, well, show me in a chart, how many sharks are there?
Oh, cool. So I could have examples of those types of charts next to their game space, so they at least know what when you say bar chart, I'm like, here's a bar chart.
Yeah.
To help them.
And I will show them some as well, but they're hand drawn.
Yeah. Okay. I think
does mural have within it? Not, I hope it doesn't, at least for our purposes, because people will get like totally. Does it have a chart maker?
I don't think so. They have like frameworks.
Something where like you could put in a 1, a 7, and a 6, and it would auto generate like an Excel bar chart.
No, they're working on tables right now, but like pivot tables and more sophisticated tables, but no, they don't have a chart wizard now.
Okay. And then when is a timeline? So I'm sure, is our arrows a thing that you can get?
Yeah, easily. Those are under icons.
Okay. So icons.
Yeah.
Images, doodles, stickies, and icons.
And also there's a thing called connectors, which is straight up arrows, like it's connectors.
Okay. Oh, and we're going to need, well, that's what we're going to need. Okay. Because I'm thinking this through your map. See, here's the way it works, Sunny, is this first panel is just a brain dump of as fast as you can in 2 minutes, everybody who's about to appear in your story or who it's for, all of them. Yeah. Just generate them all.
Okay.
You got Harry, you got Dumbledore, you got Hermione. You got Snape, you've got magic, because that's a thing that they have. You know, you've got a castle, you've got Hogwarts, you got, throw it all in there, but don't give a second's thought to its relationship. It's just the dump. Just throw all the fucking Legos on the table. Now that you've identified them, now you get 2 minutes. Put them in some sort of arrangement that shows what their relationship is to each other.
Okay.
Are they all in one place? And that could be geographic or it could be conceptual. It's like, meaning, you know, you're in North Carolina, right? I'm in California. That's a map, but it could also be that I'm in yoga space and you're in Top Gun land. Like you want to go out and shoot machine guns and I want to go off and we're in different quadrants, man. It's still the same map. You could be in Montana and I could be in New York. I could draw that. And it could also be in mind space. I'm in depression and you're in happiness. Fine.
So the where, wow. So the where is much more expansive. It's like 4D.
Well,
time and space.
Not really time. At this moment, at the moment that is most important for your story, where is everybody located?
See, that's the thing I have to ask you. It's like, how are they going to home in on one piece of a story? That's a scene in a story.
Yeah.
Unless you really can do Tale of Two Cities at a high level.
But I will show you the map that I've made for Harry Potter. Well, I'll show it to you right now. I want to keep all of this. Let me just reorient the camera a little bit.
Okay.
Here's what I drew. And I actually drew this with my daughter. So we said there's London. With Big Ben. This is London. And then you've got Hogwarts. It's castle over here. And they're connected by a train. So the story begins here. Actually a suburb. Little Whinging.
Oh.
So Harry is a kid who lives here. But then throughout the story, what happens is he gets on a train and he goes to Magic Land. So this is like human world, Muggle world. And this is Magic Land. And our entire story takes place in two places. These are the two places, Muggle Land and Magic Land, and we move back and forth between them. Okay. Harry begins his life here, comes over here. Here's where he learns all the amazing things about what it is to be a magician. He makes friends, he finds love, he slays a dragon, he has, all the things. And then he returns back here and he's a fucking orphan again.
Yeah, it's such a
Q book 2.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
But in 2 minutes, can someone really think about that? Yeah.
Yeah. If the story they're imagining in their mind, I mean, you've done it 7,000 times, so I think that they can.
People come through. They come through.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
They do come through because normally the tool set that I give them is a pen and a piece of paper. You are not going online. You are not using any tech other than, caveman tech. You've got 2 minutes. Draw me the fucking map.
Okay. Well, in that case, we could limit them exclusively to the drawing tool in that quadrant.
And what they could do though, is that's why I asked if you could duplicate. They've identified there's Pooh and Eeyore. They could quickly duplicate them, put them over here, reduce them in size, and then show these guys are inside the cave. These guys are outside the cave. These guys want to get into the cave. And you're right, Sunny, you're very smart because you're recognizing that the map becomes 4-dimensional when you layer in time. At which point in time are you drawing this map? So if we had more time to get serious about it, that becomes, I often ask them to say, draw us a map of where they sit right now, and then draw us a map of where they are at the end of the story. But we don't really have time to do that. So we're just going to, they'll be fine.
Yeah. And also, Dan, like, it doesn't have to be 15 minutes. I mean, even if we take 30, worst case scenario, because when you're facilitating in tech, everything is expanded. It takes longer because of the layer of technology.
Exactly.
So it's not problematic if we take longer.
Do we want to say that we're going to give them 3 minutes per thing?
I wonder if we should do a test run with some people.
No.
I knew you were going to say that. I mean, it's not my inclination either. It's not my inclination.
No.
And honestly, listen, this is how I would tell people. I'd say you drag and you click Command D and you duplicate everything in your who and what.
And look, what makes game shows fun is there's never enough time to do it.
Yeah.
It's chaos.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 2 minutes. The clock is, and they're like, if you're still fucking around trying to figure out how to import an icon, ding, ding, da, 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 da. No, stop, draw.
Agreed.
Like that, it's the chaos that's the fun. And if there's like sweaty frustration, that's
part of it.
Hey, have you ever seen a game show where people didn't lose?
No.
I mean, it's a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm all for it. I just didn't want to mess up your process.
No, I think we go the 2-minute route and we say,
I feel like the 3-minute route truly, because technology, like just.
You want to do 3 minutes each?
Yeah, it still feels super short.
It's really long. 3 minutes is a long time. Okay.
But
3 minutes.
Here's where
3 minutes.
Here's where I'm stuck though, Dan. It's like, it's long if you already have situated yourself, if you know the story intimately, if you know it's short, because you're like, oh, blah, 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 I got it. But if people are sorting and they're like, oh, the story of my life, maybe that is like.
Well, the limiter of how much story of your life you're going to tell us is what you can conceive of in 4 3-minute intervals.
Okay.
I'm fine to go to the 3-minute route. It'll
2.5 minutes.
I want to go 2 minutes. I just want to go 2 minutes.
And then can I give one caveat? Because I'm all for it. Let's try it. And then my one caveat is, if we pull back and we look at the board and we see that everyone's just clusterfucked to all hell, then we can say we can add another minute to the time.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Okay.
And we'll do it with grace, and we'll do it. Hey, I don't know what game show this is, but the one where you think you're out of money, and then they say, guess what? Ding ding. We're throwing another $100 into your pot.
Yeah, like that. Like that.
Go. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna start at 2 minutes, and then we might gift them an extra minute if it's total chaos. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. Will you write that down somewhere? So
2 minutes with a gift of 3.
Yes. Bonus minute.
Secret bonus. That's it, with bonus minutes.
Okay. Secret bonus minutes. Secret bonus.
Oh, I know what we're gonna do. What? We're only going to give them 2 minutes for the first pass, but their mural's still in front of them.
Yes.
Then at the end of it, we're going to give them a bonus 2 minutes to go in and clean it up.
Clean it up. That's cool.
Yep.
Okay.
And it's still a 2 minutes. So we're going to give a bonus 2-minute cleanup. Yeah, we're not going to change the rules just because tech. That would not be the right way to go. Tech must serve us, not us serving it.
I mean, I get that conceptually, but I'm just saying from experience.
Should I be listening to you and say that in 2 minutes, our people are going to be like, they won't even know how to turn on something?
It's been my experience that you typically have to be more generous with time in any game.
A digital game.
It's just been my experience facilitating that everything.
I'm going to err on your side. Then we're going to give 3 minutes per. I'm noting this. It's 3 minutes plus at the end, you're going to have a bonus 3-minute cleanup time.
Yeah, I think that's really fantastic.
Okay, so let's think about that. So that's 3 times 5. That's 15. So it's going to be 20 minutes for this piece. 20. It's going to be 25 minutes for the actual game itself. So we'll have a 15-minute tee up, 25 minutes of doing it. That leaves us 20 minutes total. So we have 10 minutes of playback and 10 minutes of Q&A.
Okay.
Which is plenty.
And also worst case, Dan, because I'm a big fan of worst case scenario planning. Worst case, you've already set them up to understand how it works. And they're going to have access to the canvas after the show. So if they want to come and massage their work, they'll have infinite time to do it. And ultimately, the point is not for them to do some like finalized perfect deliverable. The point is for them to start thinking like a decoder, right?
Yep.
And so I wouldn't consider it a fail if only 25% of them actually got through the process.
Yep.
Because they're still going to learn from each other in the debrief, and they're still going to get the framework. And that's important.
All right. So Sunny, what do we do now? I think we've planned it. Would you agree? Do you want to run it back past?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So in the how many, like just unpack a bar chart for me in the context of Harry Potter.
Okay, so we know that we know this up here, that there's kind of two different kinds of people in the world. We have wizards and we have muggles. And when people are talking about Harry Potter, they get that right away. Because they say Harry doesn't even know he's magic. Oh, that's the turning point of the story, is him learning that he's magic. Oh, so an example that was told to me by my daughter was JK tells us that most people in the world are muggles, and here's wizards. So most people are muggles and very few people are wizards.
Oh, cool. So that's an example.
They're a minority. That's a chart. Like, quantify it. And then, but what she also tells us, because Hagrid actually tells us right up front, he says something interesting about wizards. Not all wizards are good, Harry. So if we made another bar chart of just wizards, if this was just wizards, this is how many are good wizards, and this is how many are bad wizards. Most of the time. But what we learn throughout the course of the story is if you have one really bad wizard and he's very charismatic,
powerful,
he can turn this around. So by the end of the series, most wizards are bad and you've got just a tiny bit of good wizards left.
It's horrifying.
And see, that's the power of the chart. Like, this is where we get into data visualization. You can even make data visualization fun, as you know, by personifying the data.
Yeah, and it's up to them what they choose to highlight.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
So perhaps part of the course of the story is this is represented in one way in this chart, that you have lots of good wizards becoming bad wizards. And by the time you get into book 6, you've got like what, 5 good wizards left? And it's up to Harry and Hermione and Ron to go in and go into the Ministry of Magic, where everybody's turned into a friggin' wizard Nazi.
So how many times have you read Harry Potter exactly?
3 times.
The whole series?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah. Anyway, that's an example, but and I will show examples. And again, my experience too is trust the intelligence of your audience. They're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, I need you to come up. I need you in your story, the story of 2 years when you're in your best place. How will you measure that?
Yeah, I love that. See, that one I feel like will come readily. People be like, 70% of my time I'm reading a book, 30% of the time I'm sleeping.
Or I'll have $1 million, or
right.
or I'll have 7 kids, or how will you know? What will you measure?
Yeah, well, okay. So should we give them, to simplify it, should we give them a pie chart, a bar chart, and like a Venn diagram? Like, what should we set them up to have a specificity around the type of chart?
No.
Okay.
No.
I think most people will default to bar chart or pie chart then.
You would be surprised at the creativity. And in 2 minutes, like, the clock is ticking. And I heard you. That's why we're going to give them 3, a minute to figure out, how do I want to represent it in mural. And the other thing I'm going to say is that, what do you think about this, Sunny? Bring a sheet of paper with you, a scratch pad. If you want to sketch something out, like if you're thinking through a chart or a map, you don't have to use mural to do it. Like, take a minute and draw it out on here, and then redraw it in mural. Like, figure it out on a piece of paper.
You can just take a picture of your paper and then put it in the canvas.
Yeah. Well, some people will do that. So that's another one. Images, doodles, stickies, icons, and what do we call those? Like scans?
Yeah, or like a
scan your work.
Yeah, but it's more like a picture of your work. It's not like
okay. So
like a capture. It's like a digital capture.
Yeah. How about just phone capture?
Okay, yeah, phone capture. Great. Phone, yeah, perfect. Yes.
And you're gonna have to email it to yourself, right?
Oh, I always forget. You can yes, I think most of the time people do that. And and a lot of people airdrop it from their phone to their desktop and then just drag it.
Okay, so for those of you who want to, so this is going to have to go into your tech prep. I think it's going to be important that we take a minute talking about what are the kinds of images. This is going to be on you. So this is a Sunni piece, sort of in this zone of setting up game spaces. You're also going to have to do a bit of a prep on the types of imagery, the types of content that you will have available to you in your game space are images. Here's how you do that. Doodles, here's how you do that. Stickies, here's how you do that. Icon connectors, I don't want to call them icons and images are kind of the same thing, aren't they?
Not in the mural menu, they're different.
Oh, icons?
Yeah, icons is a different like tab.
And for those of you who really want to push it, but keep in mind time is going to be limited. So we don't want you to get lost on this. You could draw and airdrop it to yourself and throw it in. Yeah.
Will you add the word connector to it too, though?
And connector.
Yeah. And, you know, Dan, what I will do is think through what I call the mechanics of this entire process. So if where I can simplify it, I will. Okay. For it to still have the effect that you're looking for.
Yep. Next up.
Yeah. Is when
we need to meet one more time, and we're meeting next week with your tech. We're doing a tech check thing.
Oh, on the 16th.
Yeah. Okay. But I think we should meet prior to that.
Okay. Let me see something. How is the 13th for you? Or the 14th?
Stand by.
Okay, standing by.
13th or 14th, 13th. 13th looks pretty good. Could we talk like around 4 your time?
I have a meeting with a Nature Wonder Conference people.
What time is good for you on Monday?
I'm open 12:30 to 4 on that time. So that's 9:30 to 1 your time.
Yeah. Why don't we meet at 10 a.m. my time, 1 p.m. your time?
Okay, cool. And how much time can we have?
Half an hour.
Half an hour?
Yeah.
And what are we doing?
We're simply going to review the pieces that we have in Mural. Can you create us a mural?
Yeah.
And in that mural, I will build in between now and then, I'll build my pieces, the visual decoder template.
Good.
The filled in Harry Potter version.
Okay.
All right, give it an hour. We're going to need an hour.
Yeah, like half an hour is bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay, 1 p.m. I'm sending it now. So yeah, well, yeah. And in the meantime, would you load those things into the canvas so I can actually start
set up a thing for us and send me the link and I'll get in and start doing it. For sure.
That's awesome. And then Dan, question about, I'm sending it to your Dan at Dan Rome. Is that fine?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And I'm going to send, and I put 1 p.m. my time on the 13th. So that's 10 a.m. your time.
Excellent.
Okay, cool. And then I do have a question around the when. Is that a timeline?
Yeah.
Okay. You have to go. Is that what's happening right now?
Yeah, I need to go. Well, yeah.
That's okay. So then timeline, so we need to figure that one out. And then also when you said you get to the lessons learned and somehow that transforms the beginning. So that's like
those are just stickies. That's just words you type in.
Okay.
So we're going to have them put in a sticky here for the title of their story. Let me stop. Let me share here. This one is easy. This is just a sticky. Okay. You just write words. And this one is a drawing plus a sticky. And then when you're done, you go back and rewrite this sticky to make sure that you've got a title that's a little bit more dynamic.
I did a screenshot. Okay, that's awesome. So I'm going to construct this whole machine and I'm going to, and like, you're going to think that I'm obnoxious because I'm going to need to like make sure that it's tight and clean and clear. And there are complexities in facilitation in Mural and online that are not like how we roll. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Like our many years of experience. So, I'm going to work that out as much as conceivably possible and then only ask you things I have to, but you'll have to give me some assets, you know? Yeah. And then
what will you need?
Well, like your decoder and your ideas for, I'll put it all in an email. And
Well,
then
because I know Mural enough that I'm thinking that I can build those.
cool.
I don't need you to build those. I can do that.
But the game spaces.
The game spaces I can't do.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you could, but I'll do it. And then also, I want to know how when you're teaching us in the beginning, I want to have some maybe reveals, so it's not just all there. So I'll probably cover up some stuff so you can teach us without us all looking at, right?
Excellent question.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What does a viewer or a player actually see on their screen? Are they seeing our faces?
They're seeing our faces and the canvas.
And the canvas. So it would also behoove me to set up a canvas with a little bit of like some of this shit.
Yeah, it would all be in the same canvas.
So Dan needs to. I need to make my intro
Mm-hmm.
as a set, as like you're talking about a reveal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So would it make sense for me to have some drawings and things that are sitting there, and during the live session, we can mark them up or add notes to them?
Yes.
In addition to just waving our arms and talking?
Yes, I think it'd be perfect. Yeah.
Okay. So I see 2 meetings ahead of us.
Okay.
3 actually, the third one being the live session.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got the one on the 16th that is the test of the tech,
Mm-hmm.
by which time we should have all these pieces ready to go.
And they asked me if we wanted to push that a little further, because that's when we really finalize. So we don't have to do that one on the 16th. We could save the time we have for this other meeting. And then push the tech tests, because we're not until the 23rd. I mean,
why don't we make
that?
Well, I'm just thinking.
Like, we'll totally forget, Dan. I mean, you would be crazy to know how much, like, when we have 10 people on the professional production team, and they have like so many questions, and like they have little cards, title cards they make for you and me, and photos, and they need grid setups around like what screens are up when. So, so I'm just saying, if we don't want to be done and tight by the 16th, we don't have to be. We can totally scoot that meeting.
You and I are going to talk on Monday.
Mm-hmm. We'll know.
We're going to make all this. You're going to set up. You're going to send me the link. I'm going to make my pieces, throw them in the next couple of days, and we're going to review that on Monday and do a dry run, a very loose dry run.
Okay, yeah, it'll be super scrappy.
Then we're going to have the 16th available to test it again. I think it does make sense to push the tech check back. Shit.
What?
Oh, just that things are. It's fine. This is turning into a bigger commitment than I had thought, which is okay. I didn't anticipate we were going to have 4 meetings, and I thought
we don't necessarily have to. Like, let me set up the canvas.
Okay. I'm not trying to stress anyone. When I blithely said yes, I didn't realize that we were moving into something
production.
But it will be fine. It'll be fine.
Noticing you accept what's happening, but I'm going to minimize your effort, Dan. So that's why I'm saying, like, let's just get together on Monday. I'm pretty confident I can create a sufficient game space, and your intros, you don't need to worry. You're going to just sail in. You're going to do your intro. I'm going to facilitate and set up the game spaces, tell them how it works. And then we're going to have Q&R. Like, at the end of the day, it is quite simple, but it feels complex right now.
Yeah.
But you're going to take a screenshot of that whiteboard and give that to me. And then
I'm going to send a high resolution version of this to you right now.
Yeah. I'm going to do a lot of magical things in the background, and then you're going to be our special guest. So
special guest.
Yeah.
And I also recognize this is a big deal, so I don't want to, cause any stress about saying, oh, well.
No, but I hear you. You didn't know you were diving in the deep end and shit.
I mean, this is more prep than I would normally have spent to do a live session, but I get it. It's because, and I deeply respect the fact that you're giving me the time to use your tool, so I better make it look good on your tool.
Oh, no pressure, man. I mean, seriously, it's not something. It'll be hard to break once I create the experience in the canvas,
So let's do the following thing.
Yeah.
Set up the canvas. I will do my part. We'll check in on Monday. If we feel like, oh, that was easy, then we'll just go with the 16th for the tech check and launch on the 23rd. And if we need another day to go over it again, we'll do that.
Okay.
But let's make that call on Monday after we see where we are.
I think that's wise, because I don't want to create unnecessary turbulence when you could be on a date with Dushka instead, right? So
yeah, exactly.
I know. I hear you.
You got it.
So don't you worry, but I'm going to create the canvas. I'll send it to you. And then, and then we'll want like call to action, right? So in the canvas, we're going to put like buy Dan's book. And then afterward, there's a whole production team that will like keep broadcasting things for you. And
ooh, how sweet.
I know. They do a lot of pre-invitations and then during and then post-invitations. So there's a lot of activity that you and I are not responsible for, but that is in fact happening.
And I'm good. I'm glad that that is happening. And I would like to promote the hell out of the book, but even more the Napkin Academy, because it's on a new platform and it's doing really well. And it's all set up on Shopify and it's got social commerce and all the shit. So it's really easy to buy from it now.
Yeah. See, so that's kind of stuff I'll ask you for, because when I introduce you, and just note, there's no interview happening here. So I'm not like, so I'll need a little bio just to be like, other than saying like, Dan's the man and he's my wizard friend. And like,
you want my bio, I'll send that to you.
Yeah, your bio, and the Napkin Academy, I want to emphasize that that's something special for you.
Yep.
So there's details that I need, but they don't have to, they can be done asynchronously. So it's not, we don't have to always,
So I've got a nice list. I'm going to send you contact stuff, a bio. I will prepare my introduction based on what we've discussed now, my part. And you and I will go back and forth because I recognize totally it's not just the Dan show. I'll create the visual decoder template and I'll create a version filled in with Harry Potter, all of which would be designed to be delivered with your facilitation and guidance in less than 15 minutes once we go live.
And I have co-hosts, so they can help us. Like, we'll be in good hands. Yeah.
Okay. And we will meet all those people on the 16th. Cool.
Yeah. And we can move that if we need to, that date.
Awesome.
Yeah, I know it is awesome. Dan, thanks. Don't freak out.
I ain't freaking out.
Okay, good.
Nope. But I'm going to run now.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Sunny. Thank you.
Yeah, it was a
I'll
pleasure.
talk to you on Monday.
Okay, have a good day.